We have spoken about the Big Ten in a variety of different ways the last several episodes of Late Kick Live, and we continue to do so. There have been several miscalculations from Big Ten leadership, use that term loosely in all lowercase letters right now. The most apparent two miscalculations that they've made is, number one, it's readily apparent at this point, as we've spoken about, they did not expect a huge blowback on the decision to postpone their season. Just point blank, they didn't expect it. And they've gotten it. I'd say they've gotten it and then some. Number two, they made another miscalculation in believing in that old PR tactic of just play possum. You know, the old adage in PR is they'll only chase you as long as you run. So if you just play possum and you just lay there, yeah, they may kick you for a second, but I mean, nobody chases something that's just laying there. And that was a miscalculation because the Big Ten has been running. They just haven't realized it. They thought, we'll make the decision and then it's done. And then we're just going to kind of cross our arms and we're going to look around and say, okay, I mean, you're mad, but we made our decision. And they don't think they're running, but they have been running. Because every day that's gone by that they haven't made votes public from 13 of 14 public universities and presidents that decided this thing, and every day that goes by that they haven't publicized this abundantly clear data, remember the words, abundantly clear data that was provided to them or that was allegedly used to decide all of this on August 11th, 6 days after releasing a schedule. Every day that goes by that they keep all that stuff behind closed doors, it's the equivalent of running. They've been running. We told you last week, we told you 2 weeks ago, this is not going anywhere. That fire is not going to die up there. And we were right. And it continues to grow. I normally don't question things like play calling. If you've watched this show for a while, you know that. I don't believe in really questioning play calling because there's so much that you can't possibly know. I don't believe in questioning NFL draft decisions because normally when people are questioning those things, it's after the fact. Therefore, they have the benefit of hindsight. And I don't believe in using the weapon of hindsight, which the people who are making the decisions don't get to have. This instance is different. You could look at me and say, well, Josh, that's very hypocritical because you've been really critical of the Big Ten after they've made the decision. No, I was critical as they made the decision. So with the same information available that they had, I watched them make the decision, and in real time, I thought it was horrible. And now a lot more people in Big Ten country are stepping to the plate and saying, yeah, this is horrible. And this is going to have really catastrophic results if we don't change course here. Now you may say, what do you mean change course? This is decided. And yeah, it seems like it is decided. But I just want to ask you the question. I was driving home the other night and I was thinking to myself, you know, if you separate all of the fact and all the rumor and all this and that, and you just kind of clear the haze out of the room and you think clearly for a second, what even today on August 27th, even today, if they changed their minds in the Big Ten, what's stopping them from starting a season on time? Last week of September. What's stopping that? They're still on campus. They're still practicing. So what would stop that? And outside of a terrible pride hit, I couldn't really think of a whole lot. And I asked around and I said, give me some tangible answers. Like, what is it? What mechanism has been put in place? What string has been severed that you couldn't reattach to not be able to make a season happen? No one could give me anything. There's nothing standing in the way. There are no stop signs that have been put into place. If the right people changed their minds, you would have some roadblocks to overcome, but you could do it. Now, if the answer to the question is, we're not going to start the season because we haven't changed our minds. We still believe the decision that we made is the right decision. Well, if that is the retort, then I follow with this. Okay, then it's time to back it up. It's time to back it up because this, again, is not going away. It's going to be at your doorstep for a long time. Dave Biddle with our Bucknut site, that's our Ohio State 24/7 site, had a really good piece out today. I would encourage you to go look at it. It's free. Everyone can look at it. And it was basically kind of summarizing what is a rapidly growing sentiment in the Big Ten. A lot of folks thought when they made this decision it was only a matter of time and all the other Power 5 dominoes were going to fall, and therefore all of this would be irrelevant. If anything, the Big Ten may look like a bunch of visionaries that made the first decision that eventually everyone was going to have to make. Folks, that's not the way this is going to happen. I don't know how things are going to conclude in the SEC or the ACC or the Big 12, but I'm telling you, I'd bet a lot of money right now they're getting their seasons off the ground. There's going to be college football in the SEC and the ACC and the Big 12 this year. I would bet a lot of money on that right now. So how it ends is another story. But you're going to sit around, as Dave Biddle wrote in his piece today, again on bucknuts.com. I would encourage you to go look at it. And he's talking about how the realization is starting to set in. This is a realization we have spoken about on this show for 2 months now. If someone out there made the decision to cancel or postpone, whatever you want to say, I view them as interchangeable right now. If someone made that decision and everyone else didn't follow, and they voluntarily put themselves on that island, and they were forced to look offshore and watch everyone else or some other folks play successfully college football seasons, that's some stuff you may not be able to come back from. Totally catastrophic for many different reasons. And so now we get news this afternoon that 8 parents of Nebraska Cornhusker players are filing lawsuit against the league office. And they are seeking really to have the decision overturned. That's really what they want. It's not so much they're chasing money. In fact, that was in the brief that was released. They're not chasing money. And one of the quotes that was included in that release is they allege that the league relied on flawed data with no application to present data available to make a decision. So, what do you think about that? Some people are for, some people are against, some people think it's time to move on, some people are beating the drum. Well, here's what I would suggest. Tell me what this hurts. Because at the very least, I think it's time for the Big Ten to make that vote record public if you took a vote. If you didn't, then talk about the process. Just be transparent. That's really what people want. You notice no one's really banging on the Pac-12 as much. At least they were transparent. You may not agree with the decision they made, but number one, they had different sets of obstacles out there to overcome at the state levels. And number two, they've been transparent. Like they told you exactly why we canceled, and here's the reasons we canceled. And if you like them, if you don't like them, that's fine, but they were transparent. And so no one's really banged on the Pac-12. Everyone's banging on the Big Ten because they've been anything but transparent. They want to know how that vote, how the decision-making process happened. They want to know why the sudden reversal. You release a league schedule, and then you say it's abundantly clear we need to postpone 6 days later. They want to know the exact data that made it so abundantly clear. Because what you've released, as they're talking about here, the league relying on flawed data, the bit that Kevin Warren and company did release has been beaten to death like a piñata by people very informed. People in the medical community have looked at it and said, is this all you've got? Are you serious? This is what you're trying to pass off as legitimate reason to postpone your season? I don't think so. You better have something else. And so far, we haven't seen anything else. So in conclusion, this is very much a to be continued. Talking to some people kind of in the Big Ten circle today, all of them were sort of in unison saying, here's what you need to watch next. Watch how fervently the Big Ten league office tries to squirm and wiggle their way out of having to provide this. And I ask you, again, as I did, what harm would there be in simply answering? Players, coaches, parents of players? I mean, these are people who are directly impacted by this. What would be the harm in saying, okay, here's how the vote went? Again, 13 of 14 publicly funded universities, public universities, Northwestern, the one outlier. So you're paying their salaries. All you want to know is how they voted. You want to know what data they relied on. And you want to know, why was there such a sudden reversal? That's what you want to know. Just simple transparency. And there's such an effort to keep that under wraps. So I'll lick my finger, I'll turn the page here. Ask yourself, why would that be? And then you understand why this is to be continued.